Hi, I'm Joe Ferzoco.
I'm Chris Ferzoco, and it's that time, folks. We're doing market statistics today, and we're going to be talking about the first quarter of 2025 versus the end of the year, fourth quarter of 2024, Joe.
Okay, fantastic. And that's going to be, what are we talking about with that, Chris? We're talking about sale price, properties listed, number of solds, and things like that,
Yeah,
right?
number of sold, plus we're going to look at sale price versus list price.
All right, fantastic. Yeah. Hey, and this is your first time to the channel. If you like what you hear, you like what you see, please subscribe below. Tap that bell for instant notifications, and please hit the like button, and you'll be the first to get the most up-to-date market information, of course, happenings and things like that down here at the Jersey Shore, our Jersey Shore, Ventnor Margate, Longport, Ocean City, Summers Point, Strathmore, Sea Isle, Upper Township, Stone Harbor, Avalon, North Wildwood, Wildwood Crest, West Wildwood, Cape May, North Cape May Courthouse. I think I pretty much touched on everything there. Lower Township, Middle Township, Upper Township, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So just subscribe below, tap the bell for notifications, and as Chris and I have always talked about, you can always send us an email, shoot us a text, or reach the phone, and ask us any questions you may have on the real estate market down here at the shore. Chris, get us started.
Yeah, we'll do, Joe. I mean, there's a lot going on. So we're in, obviously, first quarter 2025, Joe. We actually saw in Ocean City, where I'm going to begin, is the overall values of properties actually increased. Actually went up by about 25% over the fourth quarter. So right now went from 1.2 to 1.5. So that's the average that we're looking at. Now, when we talk about averages in these videos, I know we say it in every video. We're going to say it again in this video here. When we talk about real estate and what has sold, came on the market, and values, what we're looking at is all properties. So we're looking at whether it's a vacant lot, commercial property, whether it's a beachfront, efficiency, etc. We're looking at all properties. If it was on the multiple listing service, these are where the statistics come from. Okay. So again, Ocean City, it's up 25%, 1.5 million on the average sale price for properties there. As for the number of properties that actually sold, Joe, was actually down significantly. Went down 55%. Wow. So that's a pretty big drop for first quarter versus fourth quarter. You would think that maybe it would be the opposite with it kind of being the end of a year. Yeah. But yep, I mean, we do see that happen sometimes because people are trying to close as many as they can and trying to get things done before the end of the year, tax purposes, etc. And there tends to be a lag in the new year. But 55% is significant. And we did find that historically, January was one of the slower Januaries that we had seen in recent memory. And it seemed to carry through the entire first quarter, not just here at our shore towns, but really throughout the country as well. So we're going to watch that. But again, that was a pretty significant drop there. It actually went from 245 down to 109 total sales, for the whole first quarter. Again, 55%. As the number of homes that came on the market, this was a really great sign, Joe. Went up 142%. Say it again, 142%. We went from 140 to 339 properties that came on the market in Ocean City. Now, what's interesting, we had 339 come on the market in the first quarter. There's only 276 currently available. So we're still not seeing, as you talk about it, I'm sure you will in the video, the building blocks, but we're not seeing this significant increase of homes that came on the market. In fact, in the month of January, we had 250. So in the whole first quarter, there's only 26 additional from what we started the year from. There in Ocean City. Overall sale price versus list price actually was virtually the same. It's sitting right around 96% of the total sale price versus list price. Now, Sea Isle City, they actually had a pretty significant increase in overall value. They actually went up 14%, sitting at 1.54 million. So that was a nice increase there for Sea Isle in the first quarter. For the number of properties that sold, again, Joe, down 24%. We went from 37 sales all the way down to 28 in the first quarter. Folks, I mean, you got to think about that. I mean, we're really looking at, what, about 9 a month. That's not a lot of properties selling in a given area. Again, for the number of properties that came up for sale, went up 9%. So it kind of just, flip-flopping a little bit there. But we had 47 come on in the first quarter. We had 43 come on in the fourth quarter. So very consistent with the number of properties coming on the market. Right now in Sea Isle, we're sitting right around 53 properties currently for sale in Sea Isle, which again is still not nearly enough in Sea Isle either. And overall values right now hold at just about 98%, which was very consistent with the fourth quarter last year.
All right. Well, let's move a little bit further down the Parkway, Chris. Let's get into the Wildwood area. Let's start off with North Wildwood. Again, we're doing 2025 first quarter compared to the end of the year, fourth quarter of 2024. So North Wildwood, your average sale price was down 9% in the first quarter compared to the fourth of 2024. Average sale price was about $614,000. As far as the number of properties that were actually sold, that was also down about 26%. We only had about 43 transactions in the first quarter, so you're looking at less than 4 transactions or 14, whatever that is, 43 divided by 4, 14 transactions per month for that public education. My God, terrible. So, that's down significantly there, 26%. And of course, the number of properties that came on the market, I mean, that was up. We had 96 properties come on the market. That was a 33% increase there. So again, as you just mentioned there, when we're looking at stacking blocks, okay, we had 43 sell, 96 came on. So that's almost a 2-to-1, but we really need to start to see some sort of, some increase with that, some real stackers, when it comes to months and stuff. As far as list price to sale price, they were pretty much the same, 95, 96%, no real drastic change there. We move into the Wildwood market. We had a 17% increase. Your average sale price was $619,000, up from $512 in the end of the fourth quarter. And then as far as the number of properties that sold, we had a 27% increase. We had 49 transactions, 49 closings in the first quarter. We had 95 properties come on the market in Wildwood in the first quarter. That was a 35% increase, so very similar to North Wildwood. 33% jump, 35% jump. We had 26% transactions, 27% transactions. So again, in that 2-to-1 ratio, we can start to get some stacking there. And again, same thing, 96% list price to sale price. Although the fourth quarter, we did see list price to sale price was at 99%. So the price did jump up. You were $619,000. So yeah, you got 99% in the fourth quarter, but you started at $513,000 as opposed to the first quarter, and your average list price to sale price you started at $642. I'd rather start at $642 than $513. That's for sure. Wildwood Crest, so we actually saw a decrease in your average sale price. Much like North Wildwood, your average sale price in the first quarter was down 17%, Chris. $574,000 was your average sale price in the first quarter. Number of properties sold, that was down 33%. We only had 26 total transactions in the first quarter. Number of properties came on the market, that was an increase of 32%. 62 properties came onto the market. And of course, your list price to sale price was right around 95, 97% as well. So again, that 2-to-1 consistency in the Wildwoods. Dropping into like Diamond Beach, Sea Point Village area, the average sale price was up only 4%, $854,000, which is, there's not usually big discrepancies from month to month, quarters to quarters, as there's not a tremendous amount of activity or transactions that are in Sea Point Village and Diamond Beach. Number of properties that came on the market, we had 10 properties came on the market in the first quarter, pretty much identical to the fourth quarter. We had 8 transactions as far as properties closed in the first quarter. That was actually up 37%. We only had like 3 transactions in the fourth quarter, which was kind of odd in Diamond Beach, Sea Point Village, but we're running in that. And then your average list price to sale price was right around 96%. And then finally in Cape May, actually one of the more stronger areas when we start looking in quarter to quarter. It was pretty identical first quarter to fourth quarter. $1.57 million was your average sale price. The number of transactions was 19, which was down 42%. So good, strong pricing, but the number of properties that sold was down 42%. The number of properties that came on the market, that was down as well. That was down 27%. So that was only 19 properties coming onto the market. So we'll have to watch that a little bit, see what happens there. And of course, your list price to sale price, that was actually down a lot as well. In Cape May, your average sale price list price to sale price was 92%. So you actually mentioned this before we got off before we came on about the list price to sale price ratios. We've been doing this now for probably a good year and a half with that focus of list price to sale price. And one thing that we've started to see is we're not seeing 100%, 101%, 90%, 99%. Everything is 95, 96, 94. So again, sellers are putting their home in the market. They're not necessarily getting full asking, but we can certainly cover that in other ones as well. So let's jump offshore a little bit, Chris, and talk about Upper Township.
Yeah, and that trend actually continued in Upper Township too, Joe. We're going to start with the overall value there. We actually, it jumped up about 10%, went from 747 up to 827,000. So Upper Township did see a nice growth there in the primary home market.
Sure.
That's the number of properties coming up for sale actually, or a number sold actually. We had a significant drop. It dropped about 52%. So it's significant. That's 48 to 23. Not so surprising though when it's the primary home market. Only from the standpoint you're coming out of the holidays, kids are getting back into school. There's a lot of things happening at that point in time, and it literally is like the middle of dead of winter.
Yeah.
So there's not a whole lot that does happen necessarily in the primary home market. So not overly alarming, but something we're going to pay attention to. As to the number of properties that came up for sale, this was huge. I mean, we had 61 properties come up for sale, up from 26 in the fourth quarter. So a significant jump. Again, going to use the same rationale. A lot of that is that the sellers held off because they wanted to get through the holidays. They don't want to deal with that. New Year rolls around, they're done. Boom, get my home up for sale. I'm ready to roll.
Okay.
And hopefully, it all comes to fruition in the spring. So we did see a real nice increase there in inventory for Upper Township. Right now in Upper Township, there's about 50 properties for sale currently there. As for the overall sale price versus the list price, they actually right about the same and a little bit of a bump up, 1.5%. However, as Joe's been pointing out, 93%. Not 99, 97, and 101, 93%.
Yeah.
Okay, now moving over into Summers Point. What's happening there in Atlantic County? Summers Point had an 8% decrease.
Okay.
Okay, went from 473 down to 434,000. So still some good numbers for Summers Point, but that's an 8% decrease in the first quarter. As for the number of properties that sold, we saw a 58% decrease. We had 60 properties in the fourth quarter, only 25 sold in the first quarter. Yep, that's a significant slowdown there.
Yeah.
And again, much like Upper Township, Joe, we saw a significant increase in them properties that came up, though, and which was when 75 came on the market versus 27 in the fourth quarter.
All right.
All the same rationale I'll use for Summers Point as I did for Upper Township, being holidays, calendar changing, so on and so forth.
Yep.
Summers Point, though, one of the only remaining areas I saw that actually had 100% of its sale price versus the list price. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's one of the major wins coming
Blow a
out
hole
of
in
there.
those ones, right?
Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah.
So that's what's happening in the primary home market in those couple of areas that we're covering.
All right, so we'll move into Cape May Courthouse. Chris, sticking offshore, your average sale price was down 10%. $418,000 was your average sale price for the first quarter. As far as the number of properties that came onto the market, that was up about 21%. We had 61 homes come on the market in the first quarter for Courthouse. Number of transactions, that was down 16%. We only had 31 transactions total in the first quarter. Your list price to sale price, again, that was right around 94%. List price was $444. Your sale price was $414. So, again, that dropped there. The fourth quarter was 97%. So still not hitting that 99, 100, 101% like we have seen so often for good 2.5 years now.
Sure.
Finally, in North Cape May, your average sale price was down 37%. Your average sale price was only $487,000. I say only very tongue-in-cheek. With the average sale price in the fourth quarter at $774,000, so it's a 37% decrease, and more significantly, that's almost a $300,000 difference. That's a big chunk of change there. So we'll have to see what happens as we start to move into the second quarter. April, May, June, see what happens there. Because the number of properties that sold was the same as the fourth quarter. We had about 23 transactions. The number of properties came on the market, that was a big jump there. We had a 33% increase. We had 36 properties come on the market there. So we're looking at almost one every other day, every third day for about 12 a month for North Cape May. And again, with your average sale price running around 97%. So that'll sort of wrap it up there a little bit, Chris, for the first quarter compared to the fourth quarter at the end of the year. I know you kind of touched on a couple of ideas with regards to when people list their homes for sale during the holidays or not coming in. We're now coming out of the winter. So let's why don't you talk about that a little bit there with regards to what we may potentially see here in the second quarter as we move forward.
Yeah, for the second quarter, what really hoping to see, one is for just with the weather starting to break and spring picking up, we're in consistency now with where the market's going to be. There's been a lot of talk about interest rates. Interest rates have dropped a little bit, but we're not seeing the significant drop that everyone was speculating that we were going to have. So what does that mean? Do they continue to wait for speculation, or are people just going to start making these moves just because we are where we are? Things hadn't changed like everyone hoped. So, I've got to make my move. I've got to do what I got to do.
Right.
So that's kind of one of the things we want to look at for the spring with regards to even like the shore markets and stuff where people doing the move ups. Are we going to see move ups this year with the rates dropping a little bit, or are people just going to just continue to hold where they're at? Okay, which then bogs down the market because then, Joe, the buyers, as you know, aren't going to be able to come in.
Yeah.
Not everyone can start at a beachfront. No one can start at a price point here. A lot of people have to start here and then they do their stepping stones, which is traditional for the shore market.
Yeah.
That has actually lagged now for the last probably 12 to 14 months because of the fact that the interest rates aren't moving, so people are not moving up. Prices are going up, rates are not going down. It causes a jam up for us here at the shore. So that's going to be interesting to watch, I think, in the second quarter. But what was really interesting was really, Joe, that the significant increase in the number of homes that came on the market. I thought that blew my mind. Just how significant the change was. But at the same time, the overall number of properties for sale it's still
really
virtually
change.
the same. So
Yeah.
it hasn't really changed.
Yep.
So.
And I think once we start to get, stack some months here
Yep.
in 2025, remember, folks, we're comparing 25 to 24. How does a year end and how does a year start? Where does that all kind of look at it? Remember when we did the 2024 numbers compared to 2023 and how great, when we really kind of broke it down between the first half of the year and the second half, how strong the first half of last year was, which sort of helped it along because the last 6 months of 2024 they weren't so great. Like when we did the half a month and 6 months for July to December, compared those two, it was like, my God, like this 24 was awful. So we'll kind of see what happens here as we start to pick up.
And is that trend continuing?
Is that going to
now
continue?
We're 3 months into the year.
Yeah, exactly.
Now it's 9 months long.
Is that still sort of like in some sort of a downturn there? So, well, listen, folks. If you're looking to sell your property, if you're interested in like a market analysis and equity update in your property, please feel free to reach out, whether it's this week, next week, 6 months from now, a year from now. Always reach out to us. Chris and I want to be your real estate resource down here at the shore. Give us a call, shoot us a text or an email. It'll be our pleasure to help you out with regards to the sale, giving you a market update, keeping you up to date there. And of course, if you're looking to purchase as well, reach out to us here at the Ferzoco Group. I'd be more than happy to, get you streamlined in a criteria search. When these properties do hit, we talk about limited, market, limited inventory. When these properties are hitting, properties are falling into your price point, bam, you're getting that property, and our agents, our team's getting you in there and put you in the best position to pull up that property. So next video, Chris, I think we're going to be looking at some like maybe March, April, February numbers there. We'll see what that all looks like. So until next time, folks, he's Chris, I'm Joe. We'll see you at the beach.